when the world gets in my way, I need to make a getaway. So I ride down that old dirt road, the same place I always go. It does a soul good sometimes to be alone from time to time. Take the time and let it all go. Watch the world go by real slow.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Last Hobo's Ramble. I am John.
And I am Adam.
And we are the Last Hobo's Ramble. Adam, you want to throw the places they can catch us at?
Yep, so you can get the podcast on any of your favorite streaming services. That's iTunes podcasts, YouTube as well. Last Hobo's Ramble, just search us and it'll come up. Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of the major podcast publishers. Also, you get us all the episodes at our website. It's rss.com/podcasts/Last Hobo's Ramble. And if you go there, it's got all of our podcasts. Should have a way for you to get a hold of us by email. Our email address is lasthobosramble@gmail.com. Please feel free to send us an email. Tell us how good or how bad we're doing. We're good either way. We like to hear from people. At least we know you're listening. Facebook, TikTok, same thing. Last Hobo's Ramble, and also Instagram. John is the TikTok, Facebook, Instagram guru over there, so he normally gets all that stuff, and he tries to keep the TikTok page populated with videos and stories and a little bit different content over there, right, John?
It is, and I'm running a little bit behind. Can I go ahead and tell them what we did on, was that Sunday night?
Yeah.
That's Saturday night. That was Saturday night.
Saturday night, yeah.
Yeah, so we're following up on our last week's podcast. We had Mitchel Whitington from the Grove, which is a house in Jefferson. If you haven't listened to that, you might want to go back and listen to a real good podcast. We'd like to thank him again for being our very special guest. But kind of following up on that, Adam and I went Saturday night to Sarah Jane Bridge, which is kind of Port Neches Grove area. It's the only way, I'm not exactly sure where it falls within those lines, but it's a bridge there. And supposedly the story is that Sarah Jane, whose husband had gone off, and I think he was fighting in the Civil War, is one of the stories. Well, she had to leave her home, and she had a newborn baby, so she hid her baby under the bridge, which would be crazy by in any time frame, because the gators down there, quite a few of them. So anyway, she hid her baby there, and when she come back, the baby was gone, and she was so distraught that she hung herself in a tree nearby. So now she haunts the bridge. So we went down and shot a little video right at dusk, a few minutes before, of the bridge. It's been replaced as concrete, but it's been I don't know, we've made a few passes through there over the last couple of years, haven't we, when we were down that way, Adam? And I've never seen anything out of the ordinary myself.
We've been down there several times, daylight, dark, even cast a line a few times. This little marsh canal there. Honestly, before John heard about it on a job down in southeast Texas in the Golden Triangle there, I had never heard about it, and I've worked in that area for 25 years.
Yeah.
But that was the first I'd heard about it, so, I mean, we went and found it, and mostly, the story's interesting, I guess. Mostly John and I are more interested in wildlife when we go down there, but
right. But it's interesting to go and look, and then you'll you'll notice people coming down there after dark with their lights off on their car, hoping to see the ghost of Sarah Jane or what have you. It's all.
Which, if you're not careful, is a good way to join Sarah Jane. But...
Exactly. So we did that, and then we went by and picked up my little buddy Harley, which is Adam's son, and we go to Bragg Rd, and I'm going to try to say this right. Adam keeps getting on to me. In Saratoga, Texas.
Saratoga, Texas.
Yeah, actually the boyhood home of George Jones, when there's not much there. But Adam was telling me about this road, and apparently in the early 1900s, a train, I don't know if he was a switchman or conductor or what, but he worked for the railroad, and apparently he had tripped or something and gotten his head cut off. Well, now he walks the road looking for his head with a lantern. So we made a trip through there, and that road is 8 miles long, Adam? And it is straight as an arrow.
Yep, 8 miles long.
Can't imagine a road being any straighter. Now, when we started, we did notice that there was a light up ahead of us, and I took a 30-second video, and our plan was that we were going to take intermittent videos as we go, so that we could, as we got closer. Now, we did notice that there was a set of taillights between us and the light after that, and a couple of times we turned the lights off on the vehicle and stopped and tried to get more video of the light, which we could see with our eyes, but we couldn't get it in the phone for whatever reason. And that's a lot to do with my phone. I'm not a big technology person, so I don't have the latest, greatest cell phone. But we do have a video in the beginning of that light. We never did have that light come past us. It was headed straight towards us. We had a car in between us and the light. We never saw that car, which we wasn't close to it, but we never saw those lights where they would have passed that car up. And it never did come toward us, did it? That? I mean, we never had nothing. We did run to a couple other cars later on.
Yep.
But it wasn't that same set of lights.
No.
So I give a little more interest in the Bragg Rd than I do the Sarah Jane Bridge, just because we saw something, and I'll go this far. It's kind of like a UFO. The simple way of putting UFO is it is an unidentified flying object. And this was an unidentified object out there. We don't know what it is or what it was, but people have been talking about this for over 100 years. So I don't know. What you think about that, Adam?
So this was the third time I've been. First time as a tour guide. I'll say that.
It was a first for me.
First time I went as a tour guide. First time John and Harley had been. The light we saw at the beginning was consistent with what I'd seen before. I saw it both of the other times I went. And it never seems to be... You can typically tell when it's headlights, right? Even that distance in the dark, they have a certain tint to them. This had, at the beginning, more of an orange tint to it.
Yeah.
And it was focused. And so it stayed there, like John said, between us and the car in front of us. It was probably several miles up the road. And then even once that car, we didn't see any taillights anymore. It was there for just a little bit before it winked out. And then later on, we did pass two cars coming back towards us, but it was really obvious when we saw those headlights that wasn't what we'd been seeing before.
No. And that there toward the end, I thought, if I remember correctly, we seen it off to the right, which would have been off the road.
Right.
So.
And there are some houses down there and some barns, some pasture land, but they're all set off the road like 100 yards or so. if you look out your side window as you're going, you can see like their barn light or their porch light way back off in the distance. So we know it wasn't any of that because the road's too straight.
Yeah, and I talked to Mr. George this afternoon and was telling him we had gone, and he told me that's been around since he was a kid, that they used to ride down it. Of course, I think he more had sparking on his mind than he did seeing the light, but he knew about it and kind of told me a little bit about the story of the man and everything. So it's got a long history. If nothing else, if you live down in that area, everybody should go down that road just to see how straight it is, because I've never seen a road that straight, much less one in East Texas that straight. So that was pretty amazing in itself. So.
And really, all of it is there's a lot of history there. Bragg was an old ghost town. It's a ghost town now, but it used to be a pretty booming place. Had a sawmill, and the rail went through there, and it had a post office all its own. I think they pulled the rails up in 1937, and the town pretty much died a slow death after that. But if you want to go, you go out 326 out of Kuntz and take 770 into Saratoga. And once you get through Saratoga, there's 787. You'll take a ride on that. And it's probably about 2 miles down that road on the right. And there's a sign that says, I can't remember.
It says Ghost Road, Scenic Drive or something.
And it tells you 8 miles. And so you can drive the 8 miles and see what you see. Don't get in any trouble out there. Still Hardin County. It's not a place to go carousing and drinking and being loud, because like I said, there are people that live in the vicinity, and they tolerate people, sightseers, but I promise you will be in dire straits if you get out and start causing trouble. So
yeah, it only takes a few people to run something like that for everybody, where they kind of close it down, or start monitoring it.
And it's kind of a treasure, to be honest with y'all. I mean, like I said, it's been around. Mr. George is very
77, yeah.
A very experienced gentleman, and I had my grandparents tell me about it as well. So, I mean, it's been there since 1937, and I'm sure the stories have probably been around close to that long.
There's a lot of information on the internet about it.
Yes, a lot of stories, a lot of videos on YouTube, different investigators and whatnot.
If I lived in the area, close to that area, I would probably make that drive through there every Halloween with a carload of people just to have fun. I think it'd be a hoot. So,
man, next time we need to get Amanda on board, and
yeah,
we ain't got to tell her where we're going. Harley was he was a trooper about it, but he certainly didn't want the window down, and he didn't like it when we cut the lights off. So
no.
I remember when I was 13, I didn't care much for it either. So
I imagine not. So
now John and I are kind of like, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But people claim to have heard all kinds of stuff: voices in the woods, chains being dragged. There's no end to the stuff that maybe people probably experience, and some people, their imagination gets away with them. But
well, sure,
it's a fun time regardless.
Right. Just go and have fun with it, and if you hear something or see something, hey, let us know. We'd like to know about it. So
yeah, tell us about it. I mean,
or if you've got a place that's supposed to be something like that or something similar, let us know where it's at. We'll go out and we'll make the run through there and give you our. We have no paranormal experience, but we'll give you our 2 cents worth on it anyway. We got an opinion on it, I promise you. So it may vary from what you do, but anyway. So, well, man, have you heard the one of mine and Adam's heroes, if we call him that, or musical heroes, let's do it that way, is in bad health. His family has put some things on the internet, and he may be coming to the end of his time here on Earth. So if y'all haven't heard, Kris Kristofferson is in pretty bad shape right now, and we thought we'd just talk about Kris and some of the things that we thought was cool about him, and maybe you'll pick up something that you didn't know, or maybe you can send us something we didn't know. Okay. So, won't you start off, Adam? Won't you start off about old Kris?
So I think hero is not far fetched at all. I mean, you have a bona fide war veteran there. Served in the Vietnam War.
Taught at West Point.
Taught at West Point. He's a Rhodes Scholar, right? Very intelligent gentleman. Helicopter pilot.
Helicopter pilot.
Later on.
Yep. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, he flew helicopters offshore after he got out of service for PHI, I believe. He would fly oil field workers off down in the Gulf of Mexico, and on his days off, go to Nashville, trying to be a writer. So I shouldn't say trying to be. He's bona fide. Pretty much, he's done everything he set his mind to be. He's probably one of the greatest songwriters that ever lived, in my opinion, my humble opinion. But you can back it up with numbers, and just some of the songs he wrote, just phenomenal.
I think everybody would agree with with successful. I know he's at the top of a lot of folks' lists as far as the best.
Yeah,
I can't.
I mean, it's hard to put someone as best or second or whatever, to rank them like that. But he's definitely up there. He's written, I couldn't tell you how many hit songs, but he wrote, of course, his probably biggest hits, Me and Bobby McGee, who was cut by Janis Joplin, I think, first, and then several dozen other people have over time cut it. And it kind of became an anthem of some sorts. He got a line in there that just, it says, I would trade all of my tomorrows for just one yesterday. And that's I'm pretty sure he's feeling that way right now, probably, He had just tons of great songs. And, he was part of the Highwaymen later on with Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash. And if you go back and look at the songs he wrote, a lot of the songs they did in their solo careers, he wrote, So, there's a story that he was working at RCA Studios, and he was janitor there, and he was trying to get music to Johnny Cash, and he went down and commandeered a chopper from the National Guard and flew it and landed it in Johnny's yard. And here come Johnny out, because I think Johnny probably had some things that he was expecting choppers to land for at any moment for some other reason, but he come out to see what was going on, and Kris gets out and says, I got some songs I want to play you. And there was the beginning, and they had a lifelong friendship. I guess if I had a funny story about Kris Kristofferson, Adam, I was working in Memphis, and typically when somebody come to town, we would buy tickets for our work group. We had a team we worked as, and we'd buy enough for everybody. Well, I bought tickets for everybody to see Kristofferson, and everybody backed out on me. And our QA manager says, hey, I want you to take my secretary. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen, man. I'm not taking your secretary to a concert. Sorry. And he said, well, okay, is there a reason? I was like, yeah, because I'm married and she's not, and I don't want to get into all that kind of stuff, whatever. So he comes back and says, I got a solution. You got extra tickets? I said, yeah. He goes, what if she brings her dad? I said, that's fine. They can meet me there and I'll give them their tickets. So this girl was in her 20s, maybe. And we meet down there the night of the show. And I give them a couple tickets to get in. And we're sitting up in the balcony. And we're watching the show and they do an intermission. And I go out and get something to drink, come back in and sit down. She leaned over, she says, I finally figured out who that is. I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, he was in that vampire movies with Wesley Snipes. And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But apparently he was in some vampire movies with Wesley Snipes. And I was like, I've never heard of him, but okay, he is an actor also. So, here I am thinking, man, this is one of the great American songwriters, and
well, and hey, Hank Williams Jr. said it. And he's out there in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, Kris moved out to Hollywood, right? Out to LA. But yeah, it's it'll be a sad time when Kris goes. He's been around as long as I can remember. Just anything the man put his pen to was a good song. I can't think of anything that was a bad one.
Well, and so just for your favorite Kris Kristofferson song.
My favorite Kris Kristofferson song, man, you got to be kidding me. I can give you 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Me and Bobby McGee would be one.
Okay.
How
according to ClassicRockHistory.com, Me and Bobby McGee is the #1 Kris Kristofferson song.
Okay, then what about the one Why Me Lord?
I think I did see that one on here.
Oh, there's one that goes in the gospel categories.
Yeah, let me just go through the list here. Help Me Make It Through the Night was #2.
Yeah.
That one was spoofed on Johnny Carson, right?
Right.
For the Good Times.
There's another great one.
Well, that was #3. Why Me, #4.
Yeah, there you go.
5. Loving Her Was Easier Than Anything I'll Ever Do Again.
Yeah, he was quite popular with the ladies. So.
He was quite popular with the ladies. And #6, Lover Please with Rita Coolidge.
There you go.
And this is my favorite, is #7, Sunday Morning Coming Down.
Well, I was gonna say it's hard. How do you not throw that in there, man?
Hey, and Johnny Cash really kicked that one.
Yeah.
Out in front of everybody, to be honest.
Yeah.
#8, The Taker.
Okay.
Waylon did that one.
Waylon did that one. Yeah.
The Highwayman.
Yeah.
That's actually Highwayman, excuse me, but I always say the Highwayman, but that's the name of the group. But he wrote that one. And then #10 was Border Lord. I am not familiar with that one.
No, I'm not familiar with that one either. So that's a double stump right there.
Yeah, they say it's one of his most underrated songs. Brilliant song, was released Kristofferson's 3rd solo album, also entitled Border Lord. The album was released in '72. Dark, moody, and so captivating. And I would say he had several of those. To be Sunday Morning Coming Down can be a little.
Sunday Morning Coming Down is very downtrodden.
Yeah, I was fixing to say. I'd say, yep, downtrodden, melancholy. Longing.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my favorites.
Well, then Sunday Morning Coming Down to me is the definition of a person who writes a song because they have to, not because they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. I don't think he sat down and said, "Oh, I think I'll write a song about being hungover on Sunday morning, how I miss being at home." I think it was something he just felt like he had to do.
Yep. And that's, writing is very therapeutic for people who write.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite songs that he didn't write, was on the tribute album for Guy Clark when he did Hemingway's Whiskey. And he has a humorous story at the beginning where he actually ran into Hemingway, saw him and was going to go introduce himself, wanted to shake his hand, because a lot of these songwriters were Hemingway readers,
Yes.
Hemingway could have been a songwriter in another life. Had he made some different decisions, but he ended up where he was supposed to. But he's going to go introduce himself to Hemingway, and it was during Hemingway's paranoid years, after he had undergone several shock therapies and different things, and so he sees Kris coming, who was probably wearing, black jeans and a black T-shirt. That seems to be his look,
He probably kind of looked like a young Hemingway.
He probably did, but he said Hemingway saw him coming, jumped in his little Volkswagen and took off. He said, the last thing he says in that frog voice of his, kind of croaking, was, I think I scared him.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, but he does a beautiful job on that song, on that tribute album. It's one worth listening to.
And I think Guy Clark would have appreciated that, man. Coming from Kristofferson, who I don't think they were in the same circles. I'm sure that those circles overlap some, but everyone was well aware of Kristofferson in Nashville at one time. So yeah. Well, I think you have some more sad news for us, right?
Yeah, so most of you probably know Toby Keith has been undergoing some cancer treatments and trying to get past it and beat it. You can't deny his success
No.
on the music scene, and he's made some really valid points since he's come back on the scene about how the industry's changed. That more or less he could sit down and write for days, and then it's just about impossible. I can't remember his exact wording, but it's just about impossible to have a number one anymore.
Well, not to interrupt you, but there's a documentary on Netflix called Tennessee Whiskey. It's the Dean Dillon story, songwriter Dean Dillon. And Dean Dillon wrote a ton of songs for George Strait. I don't know if he wrote them for him, but he wrote them and George cut them. Okay. And he's one of the people, if he's got a song, he can probably call George up and say, I got a song I want you to hear, and George would listen. They both attribute their success to each other. But they had Toby Keith in this documentary, so I'm not way off base. But what you're saying is Toby's talking about a little bit about that, but George said in that documentary that he don't think that he can even bring a hit to country radio anymore. So, yeah, it's changed. But I don't want to get off the Toby Keith thing because we don't wish, bad health on anyone. Toby Keith, he had a long career. He's had a good career. And none of that's going to change what's going on with his health.
And wish him well,
Yeah, I hope he beats it,
The guy recovers. I can't deny his popularity and his success. I never was a huge fan.
I don't think either one of us was his biggest fan.
It just wasn't my style, but I have to acknowledge that he marketed himself, and I mean, I'm sure he had a team of people helping him, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
But he was successful at it. I mean,
yeah, and he had some good songs, but just some of them were, to me, some of them were kind of predictable and maybe.
If I had to name a couple Toby Keith songs that I really liked, it would be I Love This Bar.
Yep.
And I really, everybody hates on me for this, but I really enjoyed Red Solo Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was catchy and entertaining, and it was just a fun song.
Well, I kind of liked How Do You Like Me Now?
Yeah.
It's kind of I told you so story.
Yep.
And was it I Love This Bar? Is that the one where he's no, I ain't as good as I once was. And the only reason I like that one's because I feel it more every day.
I was supposed to say that one we could relate to, right?
Right. But again, we wish him all the best and prayers to him and for him and his family. No ill will.
Yeah, we just all of you be praying for them guys, Kristofferson, his family, and Toby, Keith, and his family.
And while we're talking about praying, we probably should talk about throwing some prayers up there for Israel right now.
Yes.
Y'all hadn't paid attention there. They've always been at war with Palestine, but Palestine actually attacked them this week. And I think last I heard, just before I come on air, that Palestine was taking the brunt of it right now, which is, I don't know why they got to mess with everybody, but hey,
Yeah, and we, look, and we haven't been secretive about we're both Christians. I mean, if you're Christian and you don't like Israel, you might need to check yourself.
Yeah, you might want to go over and start reading.
Yeah, you need to get yourself in the manual a little bit and check out how that works out.
Right. Well, it's like when people run down the Jewish community, you better watch what you say in there, because there's scripture about that.
Yep. And I want to say this. So when we talk about that, and he's like you said, Palestine's taking the brunt of it right now. They're getting hammered. But there's a lot of Christian people. There's a lot of Muslims who have defected to Christianity that are having to live in that. And they don't have the luxuries we have, going to church on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings and not having somebody threaten to lop our heads off. So exactly. Really need to be thinking about that.
Yep. Don't take it for granted.
As rough as it gets around here sometimes, we think it's 10 times worse other places.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not saying it won't get that way. But
well, we had said we were going to keep this on a shorter than normal. We're going to try to cut down to about half what we had been doing. Let us know how you like that format. Guys, remember, we appreciate everyone listening, especially when we look and see people from Belgium and places like that. Plus our hometown folks, we always love to see that,
We're going to have a giveaway. We talked about Mitchel Whitington at the beginning, the owner of the Grove. He was kind enough to provide us with some books that he's written, one of them about the Grove, to give away to one of our listeners. It's called The Grove, an East Texas haunting. It's all about his home, which is the Stilly Young home. They call it The Grove, and the experiences and the history that surround it. It's an awesome book. I read it. It's such an easy read. It's so smooth. Mitchel is a wonderful writer. Just an all-around interesting guy and interesting topic. So what we're going to do is, if you listen to episode 9 and let us know which one of Mitchel's hauntings is the best one. So there's several of them. But if you'll just listen to that and hit us up on our Facebook page, I'll have a post there. Post your favorite Grove haunting. If you don't have Facebook, you can email us, lasthobosramble@gmail.com. And we'll have a drawing at the end of the month. Have it on the last podcast, which is probably going to be, I don't have my calendar, probably going to be around the 28th, I think.
And if someone from Belgium wins, we will ship it over there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So out of state, out of city, out of country, doesn't matter.
Yep. So be looking for the Facebook post, and also be looking for the videos John's going to post on TikTok for Sarah Jane Road and the Bragg Rd. But like John said, if you don't feel like you fit in anywhere else, come hang out with us.
Roll down the windows, turn up the radio.